All right, so sorry, Facebook. We were, Instagram just screwed us up because it's Mercury retrograde. And so it stopped playing. All right, and we're actually still in the shadow. It doesn't actually go retrograde till tomorrow. The shadow is just as important as the actual retrograde. But hi, Diane, come on in. You already have a chair here all set up for you.
Thank you.
So what I want, I like to look at things from all the different angles. And Mercury is so many things. So I was fascinated about that and thought, oh, let me present to you about Mercury in all its ways. Not that they're all connected to Mercury in retrograde, but after you hear what I have to say, we might think it's true. All right? So, Mercury is an element, a planet, and a god. So it's an interesting trio of things that it can be. Let's start with Mercury as a god. That started around the 2nd century. Mercury was the Roman god, and Hermes was the Greek god, both having very similar traits. They were swift movers, quick messengers. They were, I'm going to say they, but I'm going to just go back to Mercury, he. He was in charge of commerce, trade, money, wealth, negotiations, which is clear communication, right? Mathematics. He had to be quick with his thinking, right? Because he's going to make the best deal. So that was Mercury. And I think the greatest gift that Mercury had, and why all the other gods might have been a little whatever, and why people really connected to him, was because he could traverse both worlds, this world and the realm of the dead. So he was the messenger. He was the divine messenger, connecting the gods, the dead, with the mortals. So he was very, very special. He had powers unlike most of the other gods, and he, we had a dime with his picture on it, right? The Mercury dimes.
That's right.
And I had one, and I left it home on my dresser, but they're very rare. But there he was, currency, and many ancient currencies has Mercury's famous helmet with the little wings on it, right? He also carried a caduceus, the staff, with the 2 spiraling snakes. So Mercury is often referred to as a serpent symbol because of that. And it's different than the one that's the medical. The caduceus has always been about trade, which is an interesting thing. The caduceus, which is 2 snakes, the healing arts has 1 snake. Yeah, interesting, right? So the god. Travel was also about travel. Because back then, too, commerce was, you had to travel. Merchants traveled the sea. So he was about travel, swiftness, and he was the messenger. That's the 2nd century. In the 3rd century, 100 years later, they officially discover the planet Mercury. Now, they have been observing this morning star and an evening star for centuries and centuries and centuries, right? Just this really cool star thing that showed up in the morning, and another star showed up at night. They thought they were 2 stars, 2 separate stars, then 2 separate planets. And then in the 3rd century, they realized that it is 1 planet. Mercury, the planet. So Mercury, the planet, gets its name from the god because it moved so fast, all right? Let me tell you some facts about Mercury, the planet, that are really just crazy. 88 days for it to go around the sun. So it moves very quickly. It has a swift orbit around the sun, but its rotation is super slow. Its rotation is 176 of our days for it to turn once in rotation. Right? So, and its orbit, Mercury's really crazy. Mercury's orbit is like an egg shape, where it comes close to the sun and then goes way out like an egg and comes back. At the same time, it's doing this really weird rotation. It is considered tidal locked. Our moon is tidal locked to our planet, which means we only see one side of the moon. It rotates around us in such a way that that face is always facing us. It's a cosmic anomaly, really, that that kind of stuff happens. Not too many things are tidally locked. And because of Mercury's weird rotation and its very fast orbit, it tidal locks itself in this weird way. So it's not like our moon, but it's similar, right? So it has those weird things going on, making it a very mysterious planet. It is the smallest planet out of 8 planets, because, you know, they don't like to include Pluto, but that's really an issue, if you ask me. Why would we stop including the planet about death? Death and rebirth, right? But Pluto is smaller, but Pluto's smaller than our damn moon, you know, so it doesn't really count in size. But Mercury, it's the very first planet closest to the sun. It's the smallest planet next to Pluto. It has a very, very, very weird atmosphere. It's like a veil. And it's a veil of solar wind particles, real astronomy stuff, but it creates a vacuum on the planet that, again, is like an anomaly in the world. Right? It's very peculiar in the universe how that happens. It looks a lot like our moon. It's totally pitted with craters from meteors, just like our moon. So it's got a creepy little surface. So it gets its name from the element. Now, it appears in our sky an hour before sunrise and an hour after sunset. And that's how we see it. So the second century, we have the god. The 3rd century, we get the planet. And in the 6th century, Mercury, the element, gets its name. Now, Mercury, the element, has been used by our peoples, by humans, for 30,000 years. The caves in France and Spain, the cave paintings that they have found, it's red pigment, it's Mercury, 30,000 years ago. 1500 BC, they found Mercury in the Egyptian tombs. So they've been using it in Chinese medicines, Hindus, and in Egypt for thousands and thousands of years. It's incredibly toxic, all right, but they've been using it in medicine and healing forever. So the element really came first. The ancient Greeks, and in Latin it was called hydrogerum. Yep, I looked it up. I repeated it along with it. Hydrogerum. All right, whatever, it ends up being Hg. And that's what its atomic letters are, Hg. It's always stayed the same. So it was this weird word, hydrogerum, until the 6th century when the alchemists started to take note. All right? They realized that Mercury, so hydrogerum means water, silver water. So this is the magic about so the planet, the god, and the element are all shrouded in mystery. It's the only element, the only metal that is liquid at room temperature. Really? Like, that's a weird thing. They knew that that was weird always, right? It doesn't become a solid until like -39 Fahrenheit. You know, it has to be really, really cold for it to become a solid. But it can also be a solid. What do I want to tell you about Mercury? It is super heavy. 2 tablespoons of mercury weighs a pound. Wow. I know. Crazy, right? It's denser than lead, though not heavier, but it's denser than lead. The densest metal is gold. Then there's platinum, And then there's Mercury as far as density. So because it can be liquid at room temperature, we use it for lots of things. Thermometers, barometers, it can measure things, right? The other magic about mercury is that it can dissolve other metals and make algalum, some other scientific words, sorry, I'm just going to mumble it over here. But it makes this thing. That's why we have mercury in our fillings, because it mixed with other metals that they wanted to put our fillings in. I know I have mercury fillings still. Some of you younger folks might not have mercuries, but those of us who are my age, we got them. If you haven't had them taken out, I have friends who have had all their mercury fillings removed because of the toxicity of it. But so we used it. It's an element that we use in a lot of industrial things. It's a very rare element. It doesn't actually grow in the crust of the earth. It's found in cinnabar. Cinnabar is the only way that they really get mercury. This is not a toxic stone. The mercury isn't released like this. Actually, there's sulfate in this particular stone, and because of the sulfate, it's holding the mercury inside of it. The way to release mercury from this stone is distillation. You would melt it, and the mercury would come out. Sometimes in raw cinnabar, you will find a little bit of liquid mercury. I think it's pretty rare, but so cinnabar is mercury. Yeah, so our fillings. So the alchemists, and I only want to talk about them for a brief moment because that's a whole night, a whole course, many nights. But their whole premise was transformation from the physical to the spirit, from dross to gold. And so transformation was their premise. They write about mercury. Mercury was their fundamental mineral. It represented transformation. That's just what it was. Mercury, the spiritual bridge between the soul of sulfur and the body of salt. So 2 more elements that they use. Okay, so let me start again. Mercury, the spiritual bridge between the soul of sulfur and the body of salt. If sulfur is the most volatile part of the self and salt the most fixed, Mercury stands in the middle, uniting the above and the below. Wow. So that gave me chills. So that's the key. It unites above and below. It's all about transformation. And that was about being solid and liquid. It could be both. It could be spirit, it could be body. It could be, life, and it could be death. So Mercury holds all of that in the balances of its existence. So it makes it a pretty important thing. So, 3 or 4 times a year, the planet does this weird thing. And it's hard for me to tell you. Shay and I have been laughing like the last 45 minutes because I was like, oh my God, how am I going to explain this weird retrograde? And what I want you guys to do is to go home and Google, what does Mercury's retrograde look like, and watch a video. Because I took out props and stuff, and I was like, oh, I can show them like this. And I was like, nope, that won't work. So what ends up happening is Mercury isn't actually going backwards. It's an illusion, and an astrologer will tell you that there is no way you're being affected. An astronomer, excuse me. Yeah. They're such close words, aren't they? Right? So an astronomer, which many do, say there is no way that you are being affected by this planet going retrograde. Well, can't tell me that. Can't tell you that either, I'm sure. So what's happening is, on its weird little orbit, it's all about orbit, rotation, and our location. That was a good little rhyme I just made up. Okay, so. So here's the sun over here, right? And so it's going around so quickly, and we're doing our thing, going around, and how it's doing its thing, it's like kind of like looping way over here, and we're doing our thing, so it looks like it's coming back by the way we're able to see it. Like we're seeing it from a weird angle, and though it's going forward, it looks like, when you see the video, you'll be like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, the visual is so helpful. But so know that it's really not going backwards. It's just doing its thing, but because of the way our planet is in alignment with it, it looks that way for a couple of weeks. And so for the week before it goes into retrograde, and sometimes a week after, those are shadow periods that the energy still got a little weird. So what that means is, so if Mercury is the planet that has to do with travel, commerce, money, trade, negotiations, when it's going retrograde, all those things can go haywire. Communication in our world, that, 100 years ago, it just meant the way we were talking to each other. Now it means how we were communicating with all of our high-tech things, electronics. Electronics tend to do weird things, they die, they flip on and off, they just do weird shit. Our cars break down, things can go awry. And depending on where Mercury is in your chart and what your sign is, what element of your sign, it can affect each of us differently. I say this, I knock on wood. I am rarely affected in that way. Mercury's in my chart in a sweet way, and I don't often have the breakdowns, but I'm well aware that it's happening all around me, and I get edgy, right? So it doesn't affect me in the normal way, but it does affect me emotionally. And that's also being part of the conscious collective that's freaking out because Mercury's in retrograde, right? So I'm very tapped into that part of it, the more collective aspect of it. So what do? We can't just hibernate. I'm going to tell you some things you can do. All right. Don't sign any contracts. Right? And sometimes you have to sign a contract. Sometimes it's just, you can't avoid that. When that situation, I think we bought our house in a Mercury retrograde.
Probably.
We signed our contracts in a Mercury retrograde. Checking it over and over, making sure you dot every I and cross every T. Don't ever overlook the looking part of it, the paying attention. I personally think that the most important thing is to be aware that Mercury is in retrograde. And when we are aware of that fact, we're paying attention. Like I write it in my date book and I highlight the space so that every day I see this color line underneath. Oh, Mercury's in retrograde. What do I need to do for myself? Right? What do I need to remember to do today? Breathe. Be calm. Take a step back from the chaos. So Shay and I were talking again, in depth about Mercury. And I was saying that I like to be in alignment with Mercury when Mercury is in retrograde. Wow, Mercury's spinning around the sun like crazy. So, right? Like this. I want to slow down. And she says, well, that's not aligning with the energy. I said, Then we started talking. And she had this image. When you dance really, really fast and spin around, right? Everything around you. So if you stop and you slow down in that moment and you spin slow, everything's going very fast. Mercury is rotating super, super slow. And everything around it is spinning really fast. So when you slow down, you are in alignment with Mercury's rotation, not its orbit. So you can step away from the chaos by being in alignment with its rotation and that slow moving energy. Because everything else is spinning really fast, and so are all the humans around you, right? They're all in the chaos. It's best to be that stillness in the chaos. I think that's probably the greatest lesson about Mercury, because when we're slow, we're paying attention to our communication, we're able to make clearer thought processes, right? When it's retrograde, all those things, the clear thinking goes to the wayside, right? But we want to tap into what Mercury's positive aspects are and hold on to them while it's in retrograde. I think that's the major key, is to hold on all the positive things. That's what we're in alignment with. Because the chaos is going to happen. It could be non-Mercury retrograde. Chaos just happens. So these are lessons for just everyday breathing, right? Give me a time check.
It's 6:55.
Oh, good. Okay, so what we have done at the Dreaming Goddess is we've created a Mercury retrograde wellness bag. So I'm going to tell you about the stones that are in the bag. We also are offering it 20% off. So it's been online, this sale, but now tonight, everybody here, sorry, you guys can get it online. You can order the Mercury retrograde bag online, 20% off, using Mercury 20. Okay, got you guys. All right, but you guys are going to get 20% off the candle, the book, and the stones. Okay, if you wanted any of those things. So there's 7 stones I want to tell you about that are in this bag. The first one, the stone of Mercury, is emerald. I don't know why. Why would it be emerald? I'm like, green? It's so close to the sun, it's so hot. But it is emerald, and it's always been emerald because of wealth. Money and wealth. They called Mercury the prince planet. It's a prince, so is emerald. Emerald is the stone of the kings and queens. So it's all about money and wealth. But emerald is also about balance. It's about harmony. Of course, it's financial growth, prosperity. It's about wisdom and intelligence. So then we're aligning ourselves with that aspect of Mercury, being able to be wise about our decisions, using our intellect to make good choices. That's the emerald. The second one, of course, there's cinnabar in there, because it has Mercury in it, so nothing else needs to be said about that. Except, I'll tell you that it also is about wealth and abundance. It's also about transformation, because of the Mercury, right? It helps us to bring our ideas and our inspirations into this manifestation. So cinnabar is a manifestation stone. Also in the bag is hematite. Hematite is iron oxide, resonates directly with your bloodstream. Love that. So it gives a little boost to your whole system, grounds you deep to the earth. It's like the earth's blood, Mother Earth blood. It's that deep red ore that's in the earth. Yeah, love it. So it's connecting you to the mother, so it's grounding you. At the same time, hematite clears the mind. It helps you to be a logical thinker, clears all out the debris. So it's perfect. It's one of the best stones you could have in your pocket, because it's above and below. Again, it's one of those stones that are doing both. It's grounding you, and it's allowing your upper chakra to be really clean, having you be awake and alert, right? And it's about the blood. I just love that. All right, fluorite. And what's special about the fluorite that we put in the bag, let me show you guys up here in my camera. Can you see this little? It is a octahedron. This is a little octahedron. Fluorite's natural shape is cubic and octahedrons. It's 2 4-sided pyramids together, right? That's an octahedron. And this is natural shape. This natural shape gives it the ability to help you be incredibly organized. Yes. So fluorite. Fluorite. So even in its tumbled form and its other forms, it does that too, but this shape, special. So yeah, it's a cosmic vacuum. It clears out the mind, clears out the energy field, just really allows you to be open without all the debris, which is fabulous about fluoride. Concentration. Quartz is in there, amplifying all the energies, good for mental clarity. Quartz should be in everything, right? So it's definitely in this bag. And two more stones, aquamarine, because aquamarine is the stone for communication. It also cools those red hot energies. It's like taking a bath, taking a shower, letting that sweet water just run over you and clearing away. It's very, very soothing. So helps with the chaos of the season is the aquamarine. And then we throw some black tourmaline in there to protect you while it's happening. You know, it's always good. And there's lithium in it, so it's always a little calming. You put all those stones together, and it's like a meal. When you put in all the spices and you create a synergetic mix at the end. So when you combine stones, that's what you're doing. You're creating an additional, you have all their frequencies, and it creates a final frequency. And so this is a beautiful synergetic blend of their energies that will support you in aligning with the energies of Mercury. The candle, it's interesting. The candle is the prayer that goes with the candle. And I love this company. It's Coventry Creations. It's a female-owned company. They do their magic right, and they pour it at the right times. They do the right research. And this is about neutralizing Mercury's energies so that the chaos subsides and that you're standing in alignment with it also. These are emeralds from all different places in the world, actually. Again, it's just a good Mercury stone to have around. So, the other thing, my suggestion about being in alignment with Mercury is about being fluid. It's liquid. How do you be fluid in the chaos? Kind of just going with the flow. But it's very dense. So it's about being grounded at the same time. So it's an interesting dichotomy, right? You want to be going, but you have to be solid. And that solidness keeps you clear, right? Keeps you level-headed and easier to make the decisions and the choices that you might not want to be making right away, right? Yeah. So I thought maybe we would do a little meditation. How does that sound? All right. I'm going to pass this around, and everybody can take a cinnabar to hold during this meditation. All right? I'll actually hand it to you. Does that work? All right. Awesome. So what I thought, if you who are watching have any of these stones that I just talked about, or if you have a cinnabar or not, grab that. We'll bring it back up to the front row. Or you can not use a stone. Did you get a stone? All right, good. But I picked cinnabar, of course, because it is Mercury, and that will help us to align with Mercury.
The Pina said that she was born during the Mercury retrograde. And then you can check online to if that, what year Mercury retrograde happened.
Oh, so you could probably put your birth date in and ask it, was Mercury in retrograde? So there's a chapter in this book about what to expect when you're born during a Mercury retrograde. That's interesting. I don't actually know the answer to that.
I was.
You were too?
I was, yeah. And for me, communication, is always kind of awry. And then for me, it's more aligned during this time. I feel more kind of in tune with the world when it's during retrograde.
Oh,
it's very interesting, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
It's
interesting.
strange.
I think your code is Merc 20.
So either one of them will work.
Oh, okay.
the Merc 20 and the Mercury 20 because, because I made a couple of mistakes, and so I wasn't going to send out another email. So we just changed it so that everybody could get one. No matter what you put in, you're going to get one. But yet we had a customer come in tonight and say, I can't, my code's not working. I was like, it is working. I know they're working. Because I checked. Would you mind going over and turning the light off? Over by that door. And
everyone will see that.
Oh my gosh! I know. Wait. You can't see on Facebook, but there's Mercury way at the bottom. That's perfect. Thank you. Yeah. It's a fun dress. I couldn't resist it when I saw it. Plus, it was only $20.
Well,
that's even better, right? All right. So, let's see. If you could get your feet on the ground. Oh, and we're safe in here. Close your eyes. Take some nice clearing breaths. Kind of feel like what it's like to be inside your body temple in this moment. How are you feeling? Just take note of that. Now, in your hands, you have a stone. Kind of feel its weight in your hands. I want you to imagine in your mind's eye the image of Mercury, the god, with his wings on his helmet and his caduceus staff, maybe standing at a port with the ships all in the port, trading, having contracts, signing papers, all that kind of mayhem happening there. And then imagine the element of Mercury. See it just kind of sliding across the flat surface, being liquid that you can't touch. But as you touch it, it moves along the flat surface. It's fluid, yet it's solid because I could put a nickel on top of it and it wouldn't sink in. So just imagine that quicksilver, Mercury. And now imagine in your mind's eye the very swift, fast planet of Mercury. Red hot Mercury with extreme temperatures, extreme odd orbits. Casting a shadow now, a light shadow. Just feel that shadow around you. It's very light, it's not heavy, it's kind of airy. Now, feel the vibration of the stone you're holding in your hand. It might be pulsing, it might feel warm, it might feel cold. But let that feeling connect to your being, connect it to your energy field. And the question we want to ask all these energies is, how do I traverse the challenges for this retrograde? What does the energy want to tell you? What is the message from the Mercury energies that you've surrounded yourself with about how to best take care of you. And you can place the stone wherever you feel like it wants to be on your body. Breathe that energy in. Seal it in your energy field if it feels good. Imagine that you're kind of shielding it around your aura, holding it in to take it home with you, to bring it into your dream time. When you're ready, take a nice cleansing breath in, and you can open your eyes. Nice. All right. Well, and thank you, Stone. Any questions? Any comments? Yes.
When Mercury goes retrograde, does it always go for the same length of time?
Well, that's a good question. It's very similar times. It could be a couple of days off. It's usually 2 to 2.5 weeks. Yeah. So it goes from the 23rd to the 15th, which is a little over 2 weeks. And I'd have to check back and look. But I think it's probably pretty consistent for that time period. That time period. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll look. Yeah.
How often?
3 to 4 times a year. And it's an easy Google. I think this is the last one for the year. I think that it is the last one for this year. And because we had a couple in the beginning of the year already. Yeah. So tomorrow it starts. And then, like I said, it'll go to the 15th.
Oh, there's one in December, like December to January.
Oh, right around Christmas?
Yeah, December to January.
Oh,
January
yeah.
1st, that's right. Start the new year.
So remember all of this at Christmas.
Yeah.
Wow.
Your shopping done early.
Oh, we'll be talking about that for sure on our social media. You'll want to get all your stuff done because the chaos is already out there, right? So the question, I don't know if you all heard there, how long do they last and how often? Those were my answers. Anything else? All right. Bye, you guys. Thanks for paying attention and listening and watching on the reviews or the replays. And yay, I love you. Finish.